We're making some pork rillette, and what we're going to do is take a couple pieces of very well fatted pork and just cut them into big chunks, at least 1, maybe 2-inch pieces is fine. And I'm going to use here about a little over 2.5 pounds of pork, and this should make at least 12 portions of rillette that would be used for like a little cocktail party. We're also going to make a bouquet garni, so that'll be these ingredients here. We'll have some chopped garlic, a bit of black crushed pepper. I might grind that one down a little bit with a knife, and then a couple whole allspice berries that have been broken up and mashed to a powder. A bit of salt. We'll use some white wine, also a bit of stock, gelled stock. Okay, and that's pretty much the ingredients that are going to go into the rillette. The rillette is going to be cooked in the oven very slowly in a covered pot, pretty much for about 4 hours or so. Here's how we make the bouquet garni. We take some herbs. If I had parsley, I would use that too, and put some parsley stems in here. I took out the inside of the leek, the first couple layers, and I'm just going to put the herbs right down inside. I'll take a piece of celery and kind of smash them down, and then fold this all over into a little packet, just like that. And we'll take a bunch of string and we'll wrap this and tie it very tight. Don't cut through the leek, but you use quite a bit of string to do this. Secure everything in there. Okay, we'll cut the string enough so that we can tie it. Tie that one off. Again, we don't want to cut through the vegetables, but we do want this super tight so nothing falls out. And there you have bouquet garni to go along with these other ingredients. Okay, so here is the pork rillette. We have our fatty pork here. We're going to put some salt and pepper on the pork. I ground down that pepper a little bit more. There's a little tiny bit of allspice here. Those are fresh whole berries that I've busted up. And then we're going to add, that's a whole tablespoon for 2.5 pounds of pork. If we need a little more salt at the end, we can always add more. We have our stock, our sachet, our bottle of wine, lots of garlic, and I have another special little ingredient over here. Oops, just a little bit of fat in there. Remember, this whole dish is all about fat. We're going to add garlic into that duck fat right there. I saved that from the duck and rendered it down. And we'll just slowly heat up this garlic. Don't use a lot of heat. Just warm it up. We don't also want to smoke duck fat. It's not good for the duck fat. So it has a low smoking point, very low. And just let that garlic kind of get aromatic there, nice and strong. And then we're going to mix up our meat here real quick. Add that in. We're not trying to sear or anything. We're just putting the meat in to cook. We can stir it around here a little bit so it gets well incorporated with the garlic. Now I can turn the heat up high. We'll add a bit of white wine, a good 3/4 of a cup. Add some good gelatinous stock. We could use pork stock, chicken stock, veal stock, any of that would be fine. That's chicken stock. We'll add a bouquet garni. Stir everything together and we're going to bring it to a full boil. Turn the boil down, put the lid on, and then we're going to introduce this into the oven at 300 degrees. And that's pretty much it for the pork rillette. The more fat you get in there, the funner it is. Some extra pork belly or any fatty pork parts are good. If you've got some duck, that's always going to improve flavors. And we will put this in the oven when it comes to a boil. Okay, you can see this pork has come to a full boil. I'm going to give it a quick stir just one more time, make sure everything's nice and heated in here. Bury that bouquet garni down in the liquid. Put a tight-fitting lid on it. Make sure it comes to a boil first, and then we will put this in the oven. The oven here is preheated to 300 degrees. Put the lid on, set that one into the oven, and close it up. We'll check it every couple hours, maybe give it 2 hours. You can see here that the oven is set at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Yep, all set. Just checking this and see how it's looking. You can see a lot of fat rendering out, which is good. And be careful with the bouquet garni, don't disrupt it too much. Easy on it. So just move everything around, tap on it, see if it's starting to fall apart. This has been about an hour and a half. So back in it goes. Bye. This pork has been cooking for about 5 hours and you can see that it's really nice and soft. Super soft. So if we drain off some of this liquid, we're gonna get 2 things. We're gonna get stock, or whatever liquid we have, some wine in there too, and fat. So we're gonna separate the meat from the liquids, take out the bouquet garni, and then we're going to let the fat and liquid settle, remove the fat, and reduce the liquid, add it back to the meat as we shred. And I'll go through that in just a minute. Just grab a spider and move out the pork. Take out this bouquet garni. Okay, that went into the compost. Then we're going to strain this into a container that makes it easy to separate the fat from the liquid. Usually things that are narrow work pretty good. And we'll let that rest for a minute. And then we're going to use a KitchenAid over here to mix up this pork and shred it. So we'll hook that in, put in a paddle, and just put it on very slow. Just give it a couple revolutions. That's probably good. Give you a close-up on that. It should be nicely shredded at this point. There we go. No big chunks, so look for chunks of fat. If there's something in there, we can pull it out. We're cooking, we're cooking. Okay, so we're gonna take the fat off the top of this. This fat will come in handy later. We can also add some into the actual rillette. We'll try to skim as much off there as we can. Okay, so that's mostly stock. And then I'll put this into a casserole or a pot and reduce it down a bit. If I have a lot of liquid, it may take a little while. This one is going to go fairly quick because the pan's really broad. So this will only take a minute or so once it reaches a boil. So this one looks like it's starting to reduce down pretty low, maybe another couple seconds. And then we're going to add it over here to the pork. And be careful because sometimes this liquid can be a little bit intense. So add a little bit, taste the pork, add a little more, taste the pork, and then we can finish with a little fat. I also have a little bit of duck fat here left. So I might add some duck fat to this, which is a little softer, and then use the pork fat for the top. But you could use any kind of fat in there. Some rillettes even use butter for things like salmon rillette and whatnot. Okay, that looks good. So we're going to mix this again on slow. And then add a little bit here coming in. A little more. And then give it a taste. We don't want to mix too much, so easy on the mixing. Okay, I can take that a little bit more, and that's about all I got. So that was 1 tablespoon of salt, and it all is going in there. So one more little mix. We'll add a little fat to that. This is about 2 tablespoons. And we don't want this tasty, but you want the flavors pretty strong. Because remember, this will be served cold, and as that is cold, it's going to diminish in seasoning. So nicely shredded, coming away from the side of the bowl, but not mushy. Here is the finished product. It is a good idea to try some. Don't forget before you start packing crocks. And make sure the seasoning is a bit aggressive. If you feel it's a little dry, you can add more of the fat. And what we want to do is pack the crocks here so that they're mostly full, but not all the way. And then press the meat down. I use a spoon, or if you're doing larger crocks, you can use a spatula and get them nice, and don't pack too tight, but get them nice and firm and level. Because these are going to go into the refrigerator, set up a little bit first, and then we are going to pour some fat over the top to cover. We don't want meat sticking up while we pour the rest of the fat on top. So that's it. We basically fill them full. This is going to be like a equivalent of butter, pork butter, when it's done. Try to get everything nice and clean here. And then no meat sticking up. Push it down, just like that. Here's yet another way you can shape this rillette. And what you want to do is lay it out on a piece of plastic wrap. We're going to try to pinch it together here to make a loaf of rillette. You will need a straight edge of some sort, something, even like a hotel pan can work if you're in dire straits. It's good to use a little water here on the plastic wrap because it will slip and slide a little bit. You can even put a little oil on it, and that will keep the plastic from adhering tightly to itself. And then we're gonna pull this up and over, pack it. Now extend the plastic wrap out over the edge. Use your straight edge. Hold the plastic on the back side down and push. And you can tighten this into like a sausage. So get it in a diameter that works for you. Make sure it's nice and tight. Roll it all the way up. And then we're going to seal the ends by twisting. And if you have enough room, this plastic's kind of small, I'll try to get a knot in there. I could say not happening. How about that? And then we'll grab the other end, tighten it. And again, tie the knot like so. Okay, now that you have this rillette in a loaf, you can even it out a little bit, put it into the refrigerator and allow it to set up. It'll stay nice and round, and we can slice this for like hors d'oeuvre projects. Here, I think I got enough plastic here now. There we go. Okay, nice. There you go, rillette another way. I would like to finish up here on these rillette. This is the pork rillette. This is the pork fat that we skimmed off the top. And we put these in the oven just to let them, the refrigerator, let them set up. And we're just gonna spoon a little bit of fat right over the top. This will seal in the rillette. We'll put them back in the refrigerator overnight, and this will turn white, or kind of a pale color of white, to seal in this potted meat. That's pretty much what we have here. The Brits are really big on potted meats, as well as the French. Where do you think the Brits got it from? Okay, and that covers them up. Then I just put them into the refrigerator carefully, make sure they're nice and flat, don't spill them or anything like that. And we have, tomorrow I'll pull them out, the finished rillette. Here is the finishing touches for our rillette. And this is a pork rillette. We'll take one of the finished dishes. That one looks the best. We're gonna heat up a knife here with some hot water. And using the back edge, just make some lines in the fat. We'll heat it again. And then we'll give it a quarter turn. Take a little garnish. We got a fanned cornichon. little piece of pickled onion, a couple chives, and a sprig of parsley. And then we put that onto a plate with lots of crusty bread, and you've got yourself rillette. Serve it with a knife that is spreadable, something like this. Leave it out for about an hour, and then serve it as such. And that is pork rillette finished.